guys, glad you could join me. I'm just in the middle of making a stand for the motor in my sailboat. We're going to be pulling that baby out and doing some work on her. I have a leaking rear oil seal, and I'm going to replace the alternator and the raw water intake pump where the cooling water for the motor comes from. But anyway, I'm just building a box, stand, whatever you want to call it, to hold the engine. So thankfully the engine, and I'm not sure how much it weighs, probably about 300, 250 pounds, I don't know, something like that. But anyway, the good news about that motor and having to pull it out is that it has a cast iron oil pan on the bottom, and therefore you can sit the motor down on this stand on the oil pan and it will not damage the oil pan. And in addition, since it is a cast iron oil pan that supports the motor, that will be supporting the motor, I'll be able to slide it back and forth on this stand that I've built. So because I can't pull the motor out with a crane or a hoist of any kind, because of the fact that it's in a slip in a marina, they don't allow that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is pull the motor, put it on the stand, and that will be in the salon, in the living area of the boat. And so in order to make sure that the all of that weight and everything doesn't damage the sole of the boat, which is what the floor is called in a sailboat, in order to prevent that from being damaged, I'll have 4 lengths of 2x4 spanning the walkway through the salon, so that I can slide this contraption back and forth with the motor sitting on top of it. And in order to get the motor out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this come along. I'm going to have 2 of them actually, and these will hoist the motor with the help of my first mate, Kathy. These will hoist the motor out of the engine compartment and sit it on top of this. Now, for those of you that know how a come-along works, you probably know that you can hoist the motor, in this case, hoist the motor up, but you can't lower it down notch by notch of the come-along. So it's going to have to be done very carefully, as you can imagine. But anyway, I'll show you this when we get on the boat. Today is just a terrible weather day, so I can't go on the boat today. But anyway, I'm going to have a 2x10, one of these guys right here. I'm going to have one of these spanning over the companionway where you walk down into the boat, into the salon. And it will have 2 eye bolts in the center of that 2x10, and then I'll have nylon straps going around, one around the front of the motor and one around the back of the motor, and we'll hoist it out that way. At least that's the plan. Whether or not it works, I don't know. Stay tuned. So grab your popcorn, your beer, your Coke, whatever it is that you're into, and stand by, because we're going to be pulling the motor out of that boat and doing some work on it, okay? All right, talk to you later. Bye. All right. Now I know what you're thinking probably. I thought I was tuning in to Lloyd Buckner's sailboat channel, but clearly something went wrong, and I'm watching some sexual deviant here with some kind of S&M torture chamber in his boat. But that is not the case. We are getting ready to pull the motor out of this boat. So this is the contraption that I've come up with to accomplish this. Now there's a number of things that can go wrong, that could go wrong with this operation. One of those things is that the straps that are actually tie-down straps that I'm using to pull this motor out, even though they're doubled up, there's a good chance that they can snap, one or both, which would send my motor, once it's elevated, through the bottom of the boat and send the boat to the bottom of the ocean, and have me and Kathy grabbing for our PFDs to float our way back to our car. But I don't think that's going to happen. The other thing is these are $25 cheapo creepo come-alongs that I got at Harbor Freight, and the cable on them could snap or the device itself fail, and once again the motor would drop, go through the floor into the bottom of the ocean along with the boat, and me and Kathy grabbing for our PFDs, swimming our way back to the car. But I don't think that's going to happen either. So I think all of those things that have come to my mind at 3 a.m. over the past week are not going to happen. I think instead it's going to be something I haven't thought of yet. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think what's going to happen is that we're going to pull the motor out of this boat, and we're going to put it onto this stand of sorts that I've made here out of 2x4s and 2x10s. I've got 2x4s crossed along the salon here, along the sole, to protect the sole, so that the weight of the motor is evenly distributed along those 2x4s, rather than all of it being right on the middle. And then you might notice also that I've put carpeting on the bottom of the stand so that I can slide it back and forth into the along the pathway here in the salon. So anyway, this is rehearsal. The actual pull will be on Sunday, and I hope that you'll stay tuned and watch the goings on. And when this is all done, I'd say I've got all of the necessary equipment to open up some kind of a deviant sex shop with BDSM going on and whips and chains and all that kind of stuff. So that'll appear on a different channel. But you guys stay tuned and we'll see what happens. Take care now. Okay guys, I apologize for not being able to show you the action as it happened, but I had my hands full, and so did my lovely assistant. But this is what we have. This is the immediate aftermath. So you see the engine sitting in the salon on the braces, like what I talked about the other day. We have the legs in place here. This is actually missing a leg, so we have two on this side and one on this side because the other one's too hard to get to. But we'll put a fourth one in there tomorrow. But you can see that the come-alongs worked perfectly. We only lifted the motor high enough to have it clear onto the stand. But everything worked great. The wood didn't creak. The eye bolts held perfectly fine. The come-alongs worked great. The cable did not fray or show any signs of weakness. The straps held, and now you can see what is left behind. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but the next time probably that you see the engine compartment and the engine itself, it will look quite different. So tomorrow is organization day in order to begin the work, and then the work begins. So we're going to be replacing the alternator. We're going to be replacing the raw water pump. We're going to be replacing the rear oil seal. And other than that, pretty much just cleaning up and that kind of thing. There is a plate back in here that you can't see, but we're going to be pulling that plate off and cleaning it, painting it, and replacing it, along with a new gasket, by the way, because that's leaking also. But anyway, that's an update. We had a successful engine pull, and I am elated, and I couldn't have done it without my lovely assistant. So thank you to her. But anyway, that's it for now. We're gonna go get some lunch, and I'll let you tune in as soon as we start to work on the motor. So I have begun the disassembly process, and what I am finding underneath, I removed the starter here, and I removed the alternator that was mounted up here. And if you look at the side of this engine block, if those of you that know anything about, well, you don't even have to know about motors to know that this is just scary to look at. There is so much debris and so much evidence of leakage. This is the side plate I was talking about that I'm going to take off. I have new bolts for it, but I'm going to, and I may possibly need to replace the plate itself. I'll find that out when I take it off. And I did get a new T-fitting here that carries cooling water from the raw water pump, which is here, that will be replaced with a new one, a new and much more modern one. And then it carries cooling water through here, up through the thermostat housing, through this hose, over and down through the manifold, which cools the which distributes the water and cools it, and then pumps it out back here, and then it goes out the back of the boat. One quick kind of a funny story I want to tell you about this water pump is, if you'll notice right here, there is a grease cap, and the instructions for starting this motor say that you need to make sure that this grease cap is full of grease, and you need to turn it a half of a turn before you start the engine each time. And that provides lubrication to the pump itself, so it doesn't bind up or anything like that. So I was telling a sailing friend of mine about this pump and the grease cap, and he kind of scratched his chin and he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, you know, I think they had that on the Mayflower," which just cracked me up. But anyway, this is very antiquated, probably 1940s or 50s vintage. The new pump is totally enclosed, does not need to be lubricated. The only thing that you do have to do on occasion is to replace the impeller that is inside this back plate, but much more accessible on the new pump. So anyway, this is what things look like to this point. I'll continue to keep you updated. All right. Welcome to the scene of the crime. Whew. End of day one. Just removing stuff off the motor. And this is what's left behind. I've probably already cleaned off a half pound of just crap that was caught back here behind the accessory drive, and water leaked out of here. When I took the side plate off, 3 of the bolts broke off, so those are going to have to be drilled out. I took the water pump off back here, and after cleaning that up, or at least an initial cleanup, that's what we're left with there. And so other than everything looking pretty gross, everything came off pretty well with the exception of the side plate on the block. And it cleaned up, you know, halfway decent, given that this motor has not been given any attention in about 50 years. I'm going to say that's not too bad. We still have a long way to go. One of the biggest issues that came up today that I did not want to deal with, but I'm going to have to, is that the distributor is going to have to come out, and because the bolt located right behind it that holds the side plate in, that broke off, of course, and so I'm going to have to remove the distributor in order to get a drill bit into here to clean that up. But that's where we are at the end of day one, and we'll continue tomorrow. See you later. I thought I'd check in with you on day two, making some very difficult but very positive progress. You may recall that the studs had broken off in 3 places: here, here, and behind the distributor back here. I tried an easy out on this stud, could not get it out with that. I tried, you know, where is it? The blaster that's supposed to loosen up the threads and that kind of thing. And although that stuff is good and does work sometimes, it didn't work on this. So what I had to do was completely drill out the broken stud and rethread it and buy a new, smaller, narrower, thinner bolt to replace it. And that does work. So I have that problem solved. And then over here on the thermostat housing, with enough heat, enough banging, and the blaster solution formula, whatever it is, that did allow this nut to come off, this stud. But over here, that would not work. So as you can see, I had to mutilate the nut so that it would finally give way. And I am in the process now of removing this. I mean, this thing was stubborn. And thankfully, the stud itself did not come out of the block. Just the nut came off of the stud, so that's good. So there we are. And this little guy is seeing its usefulness and is headed for the garbage. And I'll have to obviously replace that. But now the thermostat can be exposed. See if I can do this one-handed. Bingo, there we are. Oh, isn't that pretty? Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, we've been circulating some nasty stuff. So anyway, I think, tell me what you guys think, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a new thermostat. So anyway, good news, things are progressing, although slowly. She's not giving up easily, but I'm happy so far. So I'll check back in with you later. All right, here we are at it again on day 3. And I was continuing this morning on drilling out the broken studs, and I ran out of cordless battery juice and forgot to bring my backup battery pack because I was riding my motorcycle this morning to the boat instead of driving the car. So I'm dead in the water on this project. I thought I'd show you this. This is kind of interesting. I put some liquid that you use to flush out your motor with. I put just a cap full of that in where the thermostat goes. And as you can see, it looks a whole lot better than it did yesterday when I first pulled it off. But anyway, it's very interesting to watch this acidic solution eat away the dirt and grime and whatever else is in there. It's quite interesting. When I get the motor back together and get it running, I'm going to flush the entire motor out with that same stuff. So since I ran out of battery power, I decided to shift back to the butt of the motor, I'm calling it. And this is a puller, and this is the rear bearing goes around this shiny silver thing that you see there. And I am in the process right now of taking this off. So you just tighten the 3 bolts down and then turn the center one, but you have to hold it with a wrench so that the engine doesn't turn. But anyway, that's what I'm doing right now, and I'll show you that when I get it off. So here is that rear coupling that is in the rear of the engine, and this is what the prop shaft coupling bolts up to drive the propeller. So you can see what the old one looks like. To be honest with you, it's not in as bad a shape as what I thought. You can see a little bit of galling here at the very back of this coupling, but all in all, it doesn't look that bad. And here is the key, and I'm not seeing a lot of galling there either. So better than what I thought. But if you look at the new replacement, you can see that there's a definite difference. This one is totally unworn, and you got a brand new key for it and all that. So I think that that will definitely be an improvement and prevent any problems regarding that part. Hi guys, I thought I'd just check in with you on day 4 of the engine work. I'm just getting ready to reinstall the rear shaft, the rear coupling on this motor. I've already taken this plate off, which holds the new bearing. Just for comparison purposes, this is the old bearing, and what has happened here is that the rubber on the inside over the almost 50 years has just hardened, and it's no longer providing a seal for the oil, and therefore the oil's leaking out the back. This is the old coupling, which I think I've already shown you, and this is the old key that showed some signs of galling. And so here's all the new stuff down here. You can see the green, the thing with the green border around it is the new bearing. The plate has been reinstalled. You can see the Permatex coming out here. I have the bolts tightened down. This is the installer tool, which you just turn the end of this bolt here. That puts pressure on the coupling and drives it slowly into the motor. And the new key is already in place. I'm going to be taking off the plate here, which will expose the reversing gear, and it will allow me to see that this coupling is, as it comes on, that the key is not getting ahead of the coupling and so on. And I'll let you look in there as soon as I open that up. Okay, so we have the rear seal in place, And now we have the retaining nut on the back in place. And this part of the project is finito. So hopefully that cures the oil leak problem that I was having. Although we'll be checking some other places as well. And I thought I'd give you a shot down into the guts of the motor. This is called the reversing gear that you're looking at here. And this allows the motor, this is really the transmission, you could call it. So this allows the motor to be shifted from forward to neutral to reverse. And down here you can see the oil way down there at the bottom that gets splashed up. But that's the mechanism that moves the boat back, front, and stop. So there you go, and onwards and upwards. Okay, update on day 6 of the engine work. Today, I was originally going to prepare the surface on the side of the motor here for painting, priming and painting. But what got in the way of that is that I had originally drilled out the 3 broken studs to a smaller size and threaded that smaller size. So I was going to have 3 holes with a undersized bolt holding this plate in place. But I was not satisfied with that idea. So to make more work for myself, I decided to go ahead and drill out the broken studs to the original size. And if anybody can guess, what happened is that the original outside area of the original stud, the broken off stud, binded up with the tap and with the drill and on and on and on, and it came through on the back side, and it was just a big mess. But anyway, perseverance came through, and I did finally accomplish that. So now all 8 holes are drilled and tapped to the correct size, and all of the bolts will be the same size. As I think I brought up the other day, the distributor was in the way of me getting to this corner broken off stud here, so I removed the distributor today and tried to do it in such a careful way as to where I can put the distributor back in here and not have to go through a lot of timing and blah blah blah. And the chances of that actually being successful are probably pretty damn slim, but you know me, I'm forever optimistic. So anyway, that's where we are today. We're just you know, going on slowly but surely. I've got a shipment due tomorrow from Warrior Marine, so I'm excited about getting that. It's a new plate that goes on here. We're getting new condenser points and all that for the distributor, getting new spark plugs, and we're just getting new. And I'm anxious to get this damn thing done. Anyway, we'll see you the next update. So I have very slowly started the reassembly. It's going to take quite a long time to do, but I thought I'd show you at this point how we look. As you can see, I have the distributor set back in. I will eventually replace the rotor, the condenser, the points, and I'll do that before I put the new distributor cap on and the new plug wires and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just now starting to get ready to put the new side plate, the water jacket side plate in, and with the gasket and all that kind of stuff. But I thought I'd show you that side plate and what it looks like and how it functions. It actually goes like that, and the little tab that you see there is for the adjusting arm for the alternator, And then the T-fitting that you see there in the middle is to bring water from the water pump and send it to the thermostat. But before it gets there, some of the water comes into out of that brass fitting on the front and goes to the back. And as you can see, there's a hole in the back and a hole in the side. And so what that does is it diverts water, cooling water, through this fitting, as well as going forward to the thermostat. It comes out these two holes here, one pointing about 45 degrees down, to shoot cooling water into the aft lower part of the block, and then the one in the back shoots it straight across to the manifold side of the engine. So that's how this looks, and that's how this works, and she's getting ready to go on now.